I got that Gangster's Paradise stuck in my head.
I've been spending most of life living in a gangster's paradise.
That's the rendition no one needed.
Yeah. What, Coolio?
No, your version.
Oh, yeah. No, well, no one needed my version. But
Sometimes you sing a song and I'm like, that's a great. I'm so charmed by your version. Like we should do covers, but
that wasn't good.
that wasn't
Well,
good.
it's because when we do the podcast, I turn the mic up and put it close to my mouth, so I have to sing it low. But if I had my full vocal range available, you would be like, "Damn, dude, are you fucking kidding me?"
You lived in your own sort of Gangster's Paradise, but I don't know if you'd want to sing that song.
That when that song came out, like I don't have that many songs like this where I can remember like, wow, holy shit, they really did it. Coolio really did it. I needed to hear that song, and like back then, like the only way to hear it would be like listen to the radio or watch MTV and hope it came on. But whenever that one came on, ooh, doggy,
It
I would
scratched
get
an
down.
itch. It's like a new.
Yeah, why? Do
Do you-
you understand that?
Well, you know what my song was.
What?
Ricky Martin, "Livin' La Vida Loca."
Oh yeah, yeah, exactly.
I like couldn't get out of the car.
It
'Cause
revolutionized your life.
They were playing it like 10, 15 times an hour on the radio. It was
15 times an hour.
it was like every other song was like, all right, we've gotten 1,000 requests for "Livin' La Vida Loca."
Wow, yeah.
There's just
every
something
now
about
and
the
then.
sound, and I agree with Gangster's Paradise. It just hits you in a certain way. You're like, oh, this is either it's like new or just it's probably like Gin and Juice too. That like Snoop Dogg. I feel like that kind of has that effect.
Yeah,
And
yeah, exactly.
now when I look back on it, I'm kind of surprised that "Livin' La Vida Loca" had it for me so intensely. But I think it was just like
Considering what you listen to now.
yeah, but also I think it was just like that perfect age. Where just like. Maybe I had that frantic energy.
It's exactly what it is.
I
It's
was
the
a
age.
I was a "Livin' La Vida Loca."
Yes, exactly.
My superlative in 8th grade was most energetic. I mean, you wouldn't think of me as now, but now I think it's probably because I ate Lucky Charms before school.
Oh, yeah, your Lucky Charms.
So
Wow. I didn't know you were most energetic of 8th grade.
you didn't know that? No.
No.
Yeah. You wouldn't guess it. I wouldn't even guess it.
You know what song has had that as an adult for me? Yeah, and I think it got you too. We were just listening to it the other day. That song, "Making Plans for Nigel" by XTC.
Oh yeah, totally.
Like, doesn't it hit that? Doesn't it kind of like fall
Well,
into that category
where you're
where
like, I need to hear
"Whoa."
that again.
Yeah, like I need to hear that a bunch of times, and you still can't really pinpoint like what it is about this song that makes me want to listen to it on repeat.
Well, you were saying something interesting about the drum beat in that song.
That they inverted it. If you listen to the drums on that song, most songs are like hi-hat, snare, like, and his is like all the other drums with the hi-hat as kind of the way that the snare would normally function. And when they made that song, the engineer, the producer engineer for that album ended up like going on to do like all the Police albums. Like he basically that the drum sound on that defined the sound of the 80s. That's like
Yeah.
after people heard that song, everyone wanted that sound. So cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched a documentary about the band XTC. Very interesting.
Did it make you like them and respect them more?
Oh, deeply.
Yeah.
Deeply. I had no idea what they were all about. I mean, I know their music and I know the way it evolved, but I had no idea what it was all about. And yeah, it was just some bros that just fucking wanted to do it, you know what I mean? And they were like, let's try it. Let's try our hand at this. And learned songwriting. Initially, it was just one guy doing the songwriting, and then the bassist joined in. The bassist wrote that song, "Making Plans for Nigel."
And then there was a little beef because it was everyone's
Well,
like
yeah.
scrambling for the spotlight.
The
kind
the
of
yeah
vibe.
the main songwriter before that was Andy Partridge, who was like the lead singer, main songwriter, and then all of a sudden, this other guy was writing songs, and they became the hits that the band was known for. So it got to him initially, but he got over it.
You can't be that picky when you're making hits, whether they're coming from you or someone
I
else. It's
think
like
so.
we got hits. Like
Yeah,
what do we care?
like this is going to sustain our career. And back then you needed hits. You
Yeah.
really did need hits in order to get anything going. It wasn't like you could independently release stuff and get it out to the masses. Like you needed hits. So he brought the first hit. The bassist brought the first hit. But Andy Partridge, the way he writes songs and he demonstrates it in this movie, which is crazy. he used synesthesia to write music.
That's where he sees sound as color.
He plays music and he sees images that go along with it, and then those images inform what the songs are about, what the melodies are.
Whoa! So did he give it like an example, like this song?
He's like, yeah, no, yeah, but he said this is how I write songs, but then he's literally like, I'll do one right now, and he pulls out a guitar. He's like, I'll play a chord I've never played before, a chord that you couldn't even, he just like puts two fingers on whatever, and he's like, that's not that good. And then he's like, oh, this is pretty good, and he hits it for a little bit, and then he moves like 2 frets up and hits that for a little bit, and that's enough for him. He's like, this feels like a puddle on a rainy day. And he's playing these 2 chords just back and forth. And then, he's got this whole image in his head. And then he just starts coming up with melodies and talking about rainy day puddles. And
what's the biggest hit that he wrote?
Dear God.
Oh, I don't know if I know
Dear God. Da, 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 da. You would know the song if you heard it. It's a little bit cornball. It's like sung by a kid. But I really just I respect the shit out of anybody that keeps it going for that long. Like, they were a band for like 30 years, and this dude was this is what's crazy. This guy was raised in such a wild household that he was put on Valium at 12 years old. This is back in the 60s.
And that's like an anti-anxiety, right?
Valium is no joke. It's no joke.
Yeah, you reminded me. I have taken it a couple
You've
times.
taken Valium, and I'm like, what did that do for you? I bet you didn't care about anything once you took
totally.
it. Yeah, so my dad loves it. But this kid was put on Valium at 12 years old, and at 20, he didn't even ever think about it till he's like 25 years old, making hit songs in this band touring around, and his girlfriend was like, I'm getting rid of these. Like, you don't need these. And he was like, all right, yeah, whatever. They don't do anything for me anyway.
She wanted him to care about something. She needed a little grit in her relationship.
Yes, I don't know, but like this dude, he was like, yeah, sure, whatever. I'll cold turkey quit Valium after doing it for 13 years, and it started a spiral in his life of panic attacks and insanity, and they had to retire from touring. And when they retired from touring, they started using the studio the way the Beach Boys did. Like, let's just take this much further. And he said it went from a situation where, he was writing songs to perform live. And he was like doing like, it's kind of like keeps the blinders on. You can only write songs that you guys, that this 4-piece could pull off live. And then once they said we're retiring from touring, it was just like the whole world opened to him. And they started doing all kinds of wild orchestrations.
So they've never really toured since?
Not really. No.
Crazy.
No. It's kind of like what the Beatles did.
And he didn't consider getting back on Valium.
Doesn't sound like it. But it was like, that shit takes a long time to get out of you.
Well, I feel like how we say you have a certain amount of balloons in you, I feel like you have a certain amount of panic attacks, and if you save off all the panic attacks from like your teens and 20s, like they built up.
Yeah, they did.
And yeah, and it also feels like with anti-anxiety medication, and we try to talk to your dad about this, it's like it just pushes it.
Yeah.
It doesn't like cure it, it doesn't anything. It just pushes that anxiety.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really true. I mean, it's weird because I don't think we have a lot of information as to how to deal with it otherwise. I mean, the solutions are very simple. It's like catch your breath. I'm trying to work with my dad, and I see him, he gets very anxious. I think he's bored, so he starts casting his fucking net of anxiety out into the future and pulling weird stuff back. And I'm like, hey, calm down.
Heroic dose of mushrooms. Yeah. That helped him last time. He doesn't want to do it again, though, because it was very humbling.
Yeah, yeah. He's terrified of mushrooms. I gave him some today, and he was like, these psychedelic? I was like, they were, but I think it wore off, like, because they're a couple of years old. I was like, you need the other mushrooms that I put in here, though, for your health. So we'll see if it works, but... Yeah, I'm always trying to just tell him and tell myself, like, just bring it back to this moment. We're safe right here. Like, no one's having seizures. Nothing's crazy right now. Let's just enjoy it. Let's breathe.
You're blessed.
To do. You're blessed, motherfucker. Yeah.
It's something you scream out in the house. You're fucking blessed.
I was just saying that while you were in the shower.
To your parents or to your dad?
Yeah, my dad is like, he's like, oh, whoa. And I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, they didn't take the lights that we put out for garbage. They left them. I said, okay, we'll deal with it. He was like, oh, what are we going to do? I said, if that's the worst problem we have right now, like we're so privileged. Let's just breathe it in and just realize like everyone's healthy, everything's good. Our biggest problem is these fluorescent lights we want to throw away.
They're halogen. There's no way they were going to take them. And thank God they didn't. That shit's like fucking toxic.
Yeah, no one wants to have anything to do with
I
it.
thought your dad was crazy putting them out there, but I wasn't going to say anything.
You might as well see if they'll take them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh, anyway. How's it going, baby?
Great.
Let's get into it.
Let's start this podcast.
Let's start this thing up.
You know,
How you been doing?
I think good. Confused, but good. I go
Yeah.
through like bouts of like, oh, I'm just generally confused,
Yeah, yeah.
but I'm pretty happy right now. But also like it's like half happy, half confused.
Mm,
Kind of go between those two. How about you?
probably the same. Yeah. Maybe confusion is a necessary ingredient for our happiness.
You're like, what?
Well, because it's the only time we're not carrying the weight of something. When you're confused, you can kind of just like, I need time to get a vision together and suss this out and not be as confused. But when you are confused, it's kind of like a sick day. It's kind of like playing hooky. It's like, I don't know what the hell's going on.
What are we doing here?
I don't know what to make of any of this.
Well, and I feel like when you're confused, it's like the humble part of like, because sometimes you have your confidence and you're like, oh, I got this, we got this.
Yeah.
And then the other side of that coin is like, what's going on?
Yeah.
What, you know. But generally, I think summer is such like a bright, happy time. We just visited my mom, which was really awesome. And I think, I don't know, just I see everyone else like for the most part like doing their happy dance. They're like, "Oh, it's summer."
Yeah,
It's like
it's really
it's like you
beautiful.
soak in the last of it, and then you start to hear about like school starting and COVID scares, and then you're like, "Oh shit, we just fucking
Yeah.
went through this summer forgetting about all of what lies ahead." Like being very kind of, I think a lot of us just, you got to be in the moment.
Yeah. It was good for us. Charged us up. I don't want to pay attention to any of it. Like your mom was just asking me. She was like, I don't know. What should I do? I'm really nervous about COVID. I said, if it's just that you're nervous about it, I would just stop paying attention to all media sources that are doing that to you. And she stopped, and I was like, I'm about to get a talking to. And she was like, that's actually really good advice. I was like, yeah, stop paying attention. I'm trying to teach our
Well, she
parents.
doesn't go anywhere, so it's like, why get stressed out about a situation that you're not like being confronted
Yeah. What I'm trying to impart on our parents, which is probably such a fool's errand, like they're twice my age, they know what's going on, but like I don't know. What I realized for us is like I don't think our bodies and our psyches are equipped to handle as much information from as far away as it comes.
Mm-hmm.
It's so hard to keep an open, empathetic, compassionate heart when you're like taking on the problems of the whole world and then you're being bombarded with, oh, do you know about this tragedy? Did you know about that? Did you know about that? So like what I'm trying to tell ourselves, but also our parents when we're around them is like, cut that shit off. Don't pay attention. Is there anything you can do about the next election? Really?
Anything you're going to do about it?
Is there anything you're going to do? Is there anything you could do? No. Stop paying such close attention to it. You know, it's fucking you up. It's not good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's endless tragedy all over the world, constantly happening all the time. But I don't know. I'm trying to get more into like I'm safe.
Well, I
My
also think
family's safe. We're good right
at this
now.
point we
That's the news.
but we also know like consume less, love more,
Yeah.
be more mindful. Like you kind of have the prescription
Yeah.
for what, and there's just the ways that you can then look at your life and be like, okay, where can I be more mindful of the people of my life? Where can I be less wasteful? Where can I be more honoring of my body, soul, spirit, and the environment? It's like when I think at a certain age, you kind of like, you get the prescription and you don't necessarily need to like look at all the
Yeah.
details. You're like,
Yeah.
cause it's very confusing, and that's kind of the intention.
Well, for me lately, it's about been like honing in my sense of presence in any given moment, because I know my ways of checking out, and I know like physically checking out or mentally checking out is, but like really just trying to do a deep dive on like how do I be more present, because I think that that's kind of like the ante up for any good time. You know, it starts with
Is
that.
to show up for it.
Is to actually show up, is to really show up without like, I got one foot out the door, you just leaked all over yourself.
It's okay. No one cares.
No one gives a damn. But like, you know what I mean? That's how it feels. It feels like, all right, if I want to be playing any kind of game where I could be happy, the ante up is presence. And how do I hone in on that? And like, how do I? Because a lot of the stuff that makes you not want to be present is just like self-protection mechanisms.
Totally. And that's where I feel like, unfortunately, a lot of our addictions, that's like the biggest crime of it all, is that it like steals our presence.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah.
you're thinking about the next sip or whatever it is. You're like, you can't be in the or like, with the vape pens, you're like looking, you're like, oh, gotta grab, where's my vape pen? Did I lose my vape pen? Where's my vape pen? I need to hit my vape pen.
Yeah.
Or, with a cigarette, I gotta go out for a cigarette break. I gotta get outside. It's like anything that like, because I've been feeling it with mine is Instagram. And when we were at my mom's and we were doing drugs and stuff, I felt myself jumping out of my skin. Like, I just need to medicate on baseball bloopers.
Yeah.
I need
It makes you feel so much better.
baseball bloopers. Literally, and then
What have
last
we
night.
become?
No, last night.
What have I become?
I know. Last night, I just like we did a big deep clean, fall cleaning, and then I just was like, I'm just gonna chill, and I looked at endless baseball bloopers, and I just came out and I was like, I'm so happy right now.
You were literally like, I don't have the energy to go on through the rest of the day. We have so much shit to do. And then I just hear you in here just going, and I'm like, what's going on? You're watching baseball on Instagram. You're like, yeah. And then all of a sudden you were like, that gave me energy. I'm fine. I'm great. I'm ready to go do this. And you hit the streets. You got out there.
So maybe it's like, we're gonna be addicted. We're gonna need to medicate, but putting containers around it where it's not like always taking over your life. But I really don't like the feeling of jumping out of my skin. Like, oh, I just need to check out.
Well, I mean, look, the container you already put on it. You know specifically, not that you need Instagram. Like, I need to watch baseball bloopers on there. That's actually probably a good step forward, if you think about it.
Because I could do that maybe on YouTube.
Well, not only that, but it's like you're not just opening yourself up to like, whatever they throw at me, I'll just consume it all and whatever, I'm going to hate 90% of it. But you got like, my algorithm only gives me baseball bloopers. That's it. That's the when I open up my Instagram, that's all it is. Like, I have every motherfucker I know muted, and the algorithm just serves me up weird baseball plays, and I love it, but I try not to abuse it. It's I'm not just trying to go fucking cuckoo.
Yeah. I love sports. I really do.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the competitive spirit or seeing people do stuff that I would never do.
Yeah.
Like, we watched Untold Stories Swamp Kings about the Florida Gators when Tim Tebow was there.
Yeah.
And damn, that coach, Urban Meyer.
Oh my God.
What the hell? He fucking rode them so hard.
Yeah.
Like, they were like trained to kill.
Yeah, they were scary. I'm watching this thing and I kept saying to you, I'm like, I'm scared of these guys. And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, if I was the other team, I wouldn't want to do this. I'd be like, these guys are acting insane right now. But he would be just, I mean, he just held them and himself to a standard that you rarely see,
Yeah, we were saying, like, you were asking me, like, do you think this is good? And I was like, I don't know if it's good, but we were both saying there's a time and a place.
Well, we just had to pause it for a second, and like, we're watching these guys in the gym and they're like pushing unheard of weight and like, and they're screaming and they're crying and their friends are slapping them in the face and slapping their muscles like, come on, keep it going, and like make them start over if someone fails. Like, just pure insanity in the way they edit it and everything. It's like, you can really feel it. So I just paused it and I was like, is this good at all? Is there a positive to any of this? Like,
yeah, because it's so easy to be like, it's toxic masculinity. And even the football players who, like, they're like, I was so trained to kill that, like, and it was such an energy that I wouldn't want my kids being like this.
I don't want my kids to even know I did that.
To know I did that because it
Yeah.
was so
He
aggressive.
was like, I was hurting people. I would fight my friends. I was trying to hurt people. I was trying to hurt them at practice, on the field, everywhere, and like just getting into that mentality. And all I could say, I was like, this did do something for these young men. A lot of them showed up to that program with no discipline whatsoever, and he kind of had to run it. Maybe even more hardcore than the military would or could.
I think so.
Like,
I think so.
Crazy, just crazy. And the stakes are high. You're
The military
getting thrown
has
out.
guns.
They have guns, and they're not going to throw you out. They're really not. You have to really fuck up for them to throw you out. This is just like, cool, yeah. There's 30 guys on this team. You're the 31st best guy. You're gone. You didn't try hard enough. You're gone. And it was just like so intense. And I think that there is a time and a place for it. And I think that was
I
it.
mean, after watching it, we're grateful it existed because we're like, this is so entertaining.
It's so entertaining, and those teams won 2 championships because of it. But I was like, how does this apply to our life? It's an interesting question I'll be thinking about for a little bit. But I do think there's a time and a place to get into that kind of mode for your life. I just think you'd have to be very choosy about what it is.
It is crazy, though, that with exercise, like, when we went up to my mom's, we did pretty much hot Pilates every day.
7 classes.
Because we had access to a hot Pilates studio and a cheap 1-week pass.
And I'd never done Pilates before.
And I will say, when you were like, I didn't do this, but when you do the, like, continue to lift weights and stretch and stuff throughout the night, I was like, I could see how and why. Because honestly, after doing that, like, it's an hour of so hard, you're sweating, your muscles are sore, and I just felt like it's not enough.
Yeah.
Not for, just in the sense of, like, energy begets energy, almost.
Yeah.
Where I was like, okay, I did that, but, like, should I be doing more?
Yeah.
And then when I don't do anything, I'm like, I couldn't imagine doing anything.
But you watch me do it. You see me do it, and it doesn't spark anything in you to be like, I should get up and just stretch. Like, you know, your mom's like, we end up watching 3 hours of TV every night, and we could get into that. We've watched some really interesting shit. But all I can think is like, I know we're gonna watch 3 hours of TV. I'm gonna stand for 2 of them. You know, I'm gonna make sure to stand up for this whole episode, and I'm not doing it in like a righteous, like, hey, everyone congratulate me. I'm just like standing behind you and your mom and like stretching and doing push-ups and lifting weights and stuff while we watch our shows. And to me, I need that. Like, I have my morning workout, and then like I'll lift weights here and there throughout the day, but at the end of the day, I know like I need to stretch for 45 minutes or I'm gonna be a mess tomorrow. And
Yeah, I'm getting to that age.
yeah.
I'm on the cusp of needing to stretch all day, every day.
Yes. Yeah.
To not be like, oh, my back.
Yeah. I was proud of us though. Like, we went up there, and well, I've never taken Pilates before. I've always thought it was a girl thing.
It is a girl thing.
I think it kind of is, but like, why?
I don't know.
I don't understand why. But like,
I'm
I'd go
not
to these classes, and I'd be like the only guy in there, or like maybe 2 other guys. Like, one of them's like old, or someone's boyfriend or something. I'm someone's boyfriend too. But yeah, I was proud of us. It was insane. I didn't know what we were getting involved with, and I'm used to the only hot classes I've ever done are what's it called, Bikram,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like these 26 poses. You do them the same every time. It's hot as fuck, but it's like it's not that crazy. What makes it crazy is that you're standing in a really hot room. This is the hot room, and just balls to the wall, no breaks, just go, go, go. And it's like burpees, push-ups, sit-ups. You know, you have weights in there. You have bands around
It's
you.
like
all
sitting up and then punching.
Yeah.
With weights in your hand.
Yeah.
And then doing
I've never been in better shape in my life than right now. Right now.
I think it's probably more geared towards women, because I think a lot of men who like are really into working out that hard want to like
They want to see some.
yeah
They want to see results.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
think it's good for just kind of like being super toned and defined and working muscles underneath muscles.
Yeah. My core is a rabid animal right now.
Yeah.
It's wild. Yeah. I hope we can keep it going. We've
felt
got a
really-
lot of traveling ahead of us, and I'm like, I hope we can keep this going.
It felt really good to like, any exercise used to like rock my socks and like KO me for the day, and I
Yeah.
didn't do that, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, the first class we go in there, and I'm like, okay, what's this going to be all about? And the girl comes in and she's like a drill sergeant, which I'm like, I'll respond well to this. Like, okay, like, you have the judgment comes up right away. Like,
Some
fuck
people
this.
don't
I don't
like
want to
that.
listen to her. Like, we took your mom, and she was just like, not for me.
She's like, I don't want some woman yelling at me.
I'm like, I think that's the only way I can get through that is like some woman yelling at me. And not only is there some woman yelling at you, she's screaming. And she's like, come on, go, go. And she's blasting, like, ear-piercingly loud Katy Perry, Jonas Brothers, like, the worst music I've ever heard in my life. And, we came out of that first class, and I was like, what the hell? Like, what was that music? Like, that was, besides the music, that was incredible, but what the hell? Like, I don't know if I could
After
do
that, I
that.
thought the first day I was like, oh, we're never coming back. I'll have to go to Pilates by myself because Sean's not going to be able to stand this.
Well, then what I realized, so we did go back because I was like, I like this. We got a week-long pass, and I do like the teacher. I like her yelling at us. I don't like her taste in music. Second time we go back, she adjusted the music a little bit and actually played a couple songs that I know. She played Tom Petty, I think, Running Down a Dream. Great song. But what I realized is, like, I would rather hear Katy Perry right now. I would rather just innocuous, loud pop music that I don't really know. I don't know the words. I don't know how long these songs are. When she played Tom Petty, I was like, as soon as it came on, I was like, oh, this is going to be awesome. Halfway through that song, I was like, this song is so long and repetitive. And like, why? And I know every word, and I know where the breakdown's going to come, and I know that she's not going to let us get out of this plank for like another 2 minutes because I know how long this guitar solo, like, it was so distracting
Yeah.
having music that I knew,
Yeah.
Same thing when we used to go dancing. Remember we used to go to No Lights, No Lycra, and it would be like
yeah.
an hour of just, they would turn off the lights, you could barely see anything, and it was just like, just freak out in here, like it's a safe space, and a lot of people are there by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And they would just play the worst music,
Mm-hmm.
but I love it.
Because you're just like, oh, I'm just going to groove to this.
It's just like,
But you didn't like when you knew the song as much?
yeah, in the Pilates class, not at all. I didn't like it at all. I didn't want to know the songs. I just was just like, cool, I'm going with this. And it's just, I love starting a new practice like that and challenging myself. Like, I'm not wimping out. I'm not going towards the door. I'm not sitting out any poses. I'm just going to do what this teacher
Every time
said.
she says weights are optional, you go for the weights.
Yeah. Oh, of course. There's women running towards the door. There's people that tap out halfway through the class. And I was like, all right, we're in pretty good shape.
I did great.
You did incredible. I was
Thanks.
so proud of you.
I
And
wanted
like,
you to say that.
I mean, it seems like there's not really much you could do to improve your body, but then you do that for a week and it's like, wow, we're like really tight and strong and we have a lot more energy and our sex is better and it's like more available. Like, it just like, I don't know, when I'm working out like that, I'm just more turned on by life. So
Your body's, you got to get your blood pumping.
I have to. For me, I'm like, it so quickly leads to depressive feelings if I'm not pushing my body hard. And so I'm just getting in, and probably have been in, good habits for a while, and just can try to stick to them. And anytime I feel bad for myself or whatever, it's just like, you gotta go move your body. Like, there's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yeah. One of my best friends has always had really good mental health, and it's because from a very young age, her mom was like, if you're depressed, you just need to run. Like, kind of like in a way that could be like a little cold and energetically, like, oh, like I have feelings, and you're just saying like I haven't exercised, but
Like when we say like, oh, if you can bitch, you can chant, right?
Mm-hmm. I forgot about that.
You could be sitting here bitching and moaning, or you could chant.
I should use that more often.
It's the same thing. It's
Yeah.
you just got to move the energy. You just have to make a sound. But it was really fun being up in Maine. We didn't want to leave. We stayed a lot longer than we thought we were going to. And we dosed your mom on the last day of her 71st year. She turned 72 on Sunday.
Yeah, she's a champ.
She really is. She really is. Man, it's so crazy, the change. When we first got into psychedelics, all four of our parents were like, y'all are insane. You're losing it. We're worried about you type of energy.
Well, we were kind of being insane. We were kind of out there. We were like being confronted with a lot of big ideas. We weren't totally
yeah,
energetically
and we were speaking
stable.
to them.
Yeah, we were proselytizing a little,
Yeah.
and just like a little wily. Like
Yeah,
the shift was pretty dramatic, pretty fast.
yeah. Everyone's like, "What's up with you?" And we're like, "We took acid. And it's changing who we are. We're like, we're leaning into this thing.
Yeah.
We're already pretty wild, and we're gonna get wilder." And we did. So it spooked them, I think, a little bit. But cut to 10 years later, and now like, your mom is more of an acid head than us.
I know.
She loves it.
I
She
know.
loves it. We give her bottles of microdoses for any, like, that was our Christmas present to her. And like, her neighbors want in on it. They're like, "Can I have some?" And she's like, "No, this is my acid. This was my Christmas present from the kids." And she like won't part with it, and like, she loves it, and she responds so well to it, but she's always usually taking like microdoses unless we're up there with her.
Well, yeah. I think that makes sense.
And the second we showed up, she was like, "We could do acid while you guys are here," or like, "What's the deal?" And we're like, "Absolutely." So we hit her with her biggest dose yet.
Yeah, I think so.
Tab and a half.
We were able to keep it fun. Like I could have given her more. She wanted a bigger experience, but it was the perfect experience to keep her on her feet. And she's like, "I could sit down, but I don't want to because I feel like if I sit down, I'm not going to stand up."
Very
So
smart.
she hula hooped and
Very
danced around, and
Yeah, she was really tapped
we
into.
went on a big walk.
Yeah, she like when I take that much acid, I'm like pretty much like, no one pay attention to me till like hour 3. I'm gonna be the man in 3 hours. I'm gonna be so funny and attentive and listening and feeling magical. But for those first 3 hours, I'm like, leave me alone. Your mom's the opposite. She's kind of like you. She just takes it and was like, "Cool, what's the adventure? Let's do it." And I was like, always, I'm like sitting there waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like, oh, she's at some point it's gonna hit her, and it just gradually hit her, and she never skipped a beat. It was really
No, the best is at one point she's like, "Okay, I'm gonna ask you a question, and I'm not like scared of the answer, but I just want to know like how long is this gonna last?" And I was like, "I don't know. You probably have like another 6 to 8 hours or something." And she was like, "Okay, good, because I'm really liking this."
Oh yeah, no, I was like, "Oh no!" Like, she was like, "How long is this gonna last?" And we're like trying to somewhat downplay it, like, "I guess like 8 more hours." And she was like, "Okay, good, because I love this, and I don't want it to stop." And I'm like, "Oh, you got plenty more time." And I was like, "And if you feel it waning in the least bit, hit a joint."
Or some
Boom.
orange juice.
Yeah, hit some orange juice, hit a joint, you'll be right back in that space. But we had such an incredibly connected, amazing day, and for me, I didn't take anything. So
I know.
that was me practicing what we started talking about, which is deepening my presence and being able to be present. And like, I would have had every excuse in the world to be like, "Look, you guys did a mother and daughter acid trip. You took some, she took some. I'm gonna let you guys do your thing." But I don't know. I love you guys so much, and I just felt compelled to be there and to challenge myself to be there. Not like, "Oh, this conversation's getting weird. I'm gonna go watch a podcast for a while." I didn't do any of that. I just like I stood there and I held space, and I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, I appreciate you hanging out.
Yeah, yeah,
You didn't need to, but I appreciate that you did. We had a great time.
yeah.
Super cool to like. It just is such a big switch from my first acid trip where I literally was like, "Whatever you do not give this to your mom."
I know. You have a notebook from our first acid trip, and you had it with you up there, and it's just all these
Scribblings.
It's scribblings, but it's warnings. It's so funny that that's what you were concerned about the first time we took acid. You wrote like, "Stay out, mama." Like, don't give, like, basically, note to future self: don't give this to your mom. It's too confusing. Like,
And it's scary, and I love her more than anything else in the world, and I just like would never want her to go through what I was going through at that point, which was just like such a hellscape.
yeah,
But
it was temporary.
yeah, and it was
made
also
you who
like
you are.
yeah, and it was she's doing it more responsibly, and it's just kind of funny that how it all shakes out.
That's hilarious. Yeah, like 10 years ago, you were writing notes like, "Don't let your mom do this," and now it's like she's like, "I want to do it," and you're like, "I can provide that. It's all good." And what's the worst that could happen? She has a rocky trip.
She gets a little confused.
Yeah, it's like, you'll be less confused when it wears off. You'll be less confused than ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, where the tab meets the tongue, that's the Church of Chill. It's none of this speculation. It's like, here's the real deal. We're really doing this. We're
Mm-hmm.
really gonna go in and through some shit.
Yeah, it made doing a good amount of acid started me to really understand why they called it the acid tests.
Mm.
Because it does feel like you're being tested almost.
Yeah.
Like, hey, can you have presence through
Yeah.
like a thunderstorm of thoughts and chaos? And
Mm.
can you bring it back to your breath? Can you dance? Can you have a good time despite like the chaos of your mind?
Yeah. And that's like, I feel like especially the first 5 years of us doing this stuff, I would purposely put myself through challenges. We would take acid and be like, let's listen to scary music. Let's listen to stuff like, we know this music, but like, let's see if we can get ourselves a little freaked out. Let's see if we can handle listening to Leftover Crack.
See, that's not scary. I loved all that kind of like.
Well, we
more-
thought it would be.
We thought it would be grungy and stuff, but when you played Radiohead, I remember a couple trips being like, "Hey, you need to get consent before you throw on Radiohead," because their new album that had come out like right then
Yeah.
was like
Moon-shaped pool.
particularly spooky.
Yeah.
And I remember once we were like in some weird cabin and we did it, and I was just like, "Hey, you can't just throw this shit on
I was
at
like,
a peak of an acid trip."
And I did it. I tried it another time, and everybody was like, "Yeah, this is really weird. Like, don't do this." I would say the same thing. Like, Pink Floyd could probably be in that category too. I think people associate that with acid. I'm like,
I
oh,
think
you
it's
got
more
to take
weed.
you got to take acid and listen to Pink Floyd, and it's like, that's might send you down a really strange path. But like I'm saying, we've done that. Like I'm like, what am I going to avoid? While I'm in a heightened state of consciousness, certain feelings, like, let's embrace them and try to integrate that stuff. Like when I took acid and went down to
Bourbon Street.
Bourbon Street in New Orleans, just walking around Bourbon Street completely peaked out on acid, like, it made me a better person. I couldn't even pinpoint why, but that's like where the tab meets the tongue type of moments. Just like, can I handle it? Can I handle life amplified?
Yeah.
Turns out, yeah.
There's a way to do it. There's like a certain amount to take and a certain time to like go out into the world. Like I think people are kind of insane that will just like dose at a show,
Mm-hmm.
or I mean a lot of people are at Burning Man right now. Like I think that's the most insane place to like do a heavy dose. I think
Yeah.
the comfort of your own home where you kind of have like control over your environment is like where you do that stuff. Otherwise you're kind of setting yourself up for like mental illness. You
But
know?
deep traumas.
Deep traumas. Like this is puts you in a, like, these psychedelics put you in such a vulnerable state. You don't want to have to like deal with shit,
No,
you know?
no, you definitely don't want to. But if you have to, it will make you a better person.
Yeah, but it could also give you some like OCD or PTSD or anything, you know?
You listen to our Puddled episode with Bryce.
Yeah, exactly.
You could see what could happen if you overdo it. But it was fun. Ultimately, net positive. I think your mom had one of the best days of her life. I know we did.
It just makes time longer, you know what I mean? Like it made our
Yeah.
visit like so much longer. Like there were 3 days in that one day, you know?
Yeah, really, truly felt like it
Mm-hmm.
in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we were, man, we watched this show.
Oh my God.
Talk about where the tab meets the tongue. We watched the show Alone. I'm not going to say what season we watched because there's 9 seasons, and you know, we could talk about
I don't
some
know.
stuff without spoiling it.
Who cares? Let's give spoilers. I want to talk about it.
We could talk about it. Cool. We watched season 9 of Alone.
Yeah.
I think all the seasons are the same.
No,
Yeah.
my mom said she started watching season 7. It's very different.
Okay. But basically, the premise is they drop 10 people off, and they're allowed to bring very few items, and they just drop them off. They get like a tarp and like a knife or whatever.
A couple pairs of underwear.
A couple pairs of
A
underwear.
pot, like a cast iron pot.
Yeah, there's
no
like-
fork or anything.
No, there's
No-
like 10 things that they all have, and then they just drop them off in separate places. And this season was in
Labrador.
Canada, which is like very
Way up there.
very northeast Canada, way up there. Then they drop off these 10 people, and whoever lasts the longest out there wins. They win $500,000 in the season we watched.
It was wild. Because I was thinking when you were
Absolutely.
talking about music, I'm like, just think about how they just went all that time without music.
I know. I know.
But the thing is, they do these health checks, so I was kind of hoping the show was going to be a little more existential. I mean, it definitely is, but I think the fact that they like have wellness checks and someone comes and checks on them and probably gives them new fresh batteries and takes their footage and stuff like that, like they don't go as insane as you would if there was like no contact.
Yeah, yeah. If it was truly solitary confinement.
Which I think would be interesting.
Yeah. It wouldn't last as long.
It's kind of like Swamp Kings, though, because you're like glad it happened and you're like glad that it could be our entertainment, like selfishly, but at the same time, you're like, oh, it's the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
We're just, these are, and especially in this episode, this season, these are some of the most like, they're desperate. They're desperate for the money. I mean,
Every person.
like parents that don't have a retirement, hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loan debt, not able to afford a house, living hand to mouth,
Yeah.
like actually already living off the grid because they don't have like
Other options.
So in so many ways, as like cool as it is to see what's the human spirit and is physically and emotionally capable of, it's also kind of like dark. But it was interesting to see the epiphanies that people were having.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, like, even when they're in the home stretch or even just started, they realize, like, oh, the money's not worth my health or not being there for my family. Like, it was a lot of people being, like, not wanting to trade this time. It doesn't matter the money to, like, be with their family and tell them they love them and be more there for them, and almost just getting to this like awareness of like, oh, maybe being out here in the woods is like kind of selfish,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And they have to kill like a lot of, I mean, the whole thing is you have to like forage and hunt your food.
You have to figure out your food and you have to figure out your shelter. Like those are very, very,
and
very
you need to
big
find a
things.
good balance, because if you put too much energy into your shelter, then you could burn more calories and you need to hunt more food.
Yeah. The whole thing the whole thing quickly, like as soon as they got dropped off, pretty much immediately you see these people become spiritual. It's very interesting.
Or they were to even get to this place.
Absolutely, because they've had a ton of experience out there. But to be doing this alone and to be like, okay, now I really have to do this, and quickly kind of grasp the concept of like, I'm in collaboration with my environment to survive. I need to respect this thing.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, everybody is praying over their animals and thanking God.
And it was like a little much for people to be killing a squirrel. Like,
yeah, you could see it was really bother people.
And I could see why. And it's also just like, it's so interesting what our life has become, where we become so removed from the death that happens and all our consumption habits. So it's like we aren't confronted with that energy. And I mean, honestly, going out and killing a squirrel and the amount of calories they were consuming is like probably the most sustainable, healthy thing for the environment, and way that like the most morally not questionable compared to like probably their habits at home.
Yeah.
But they're like
they're so close to it.
They're so close to it that it's very confronting.
Yeah. And to see how people handle that, and to see how people handle the game of it. And, there's some people that get there and they immediately start, working on some delusionally big shelter for themselves. And I don't think they're quite have wrapped their head around that this is a game of calories. Like that's what it comes down to. The amount of calories that you put out, you have to get back. So the people that invested too much time in the shelter didn't hunt enough and were dropping like flies. And then there's people that mainly focused on hunting and didn't really focus on their other shit.
But also it felt like the people who got the biggest game were the ones who ended up getting sick,
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and you just see, and I don't know if they edit it to make it seem like this, or if it's true, or if it's a combination of both. It probably is just a combination of both. But people just watching karma play out and watching the balance of nature play out. Like, there's one guy who's just like, he's probably like the most equipped to do this physically and with his hunting skills and the amount of time he spent out there. And he was struggling at first, and then he got a beaver, and he was like, great. I'm all good. Like, I'm going to be good for like 2 weeks right now. I'm going to make some beaver jerky out of this. That should handle me for a while, and then I'll be able to build out my structure better. And while he's bringing the beaver back, he sees a grouse, one of those birds, and he shoots that too. He's like, I can't help myself.
We called it. We were like,
And the second that he killed unnecessarily to try to stockpile, you could just feel the vibe was off.
the tides turned.
Yeah, motherfucker caught beaver fever, which I thought was something else. But I thought I've had beaver fever, but
Wait, what?
nothing, Cass, please. Just let that one go over your head.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a real thing called beaver fever, and this guy got it and I think it was just like, he was just overconfident and
Greedy.
he pigged out. He pigged out,
Greedy.
and nature humbled him,
I think so.
and he had to leave. You know,
But it's crazy. Like, everyone puts on a lot of weight ahead of time, and it's like 20 days, people have lost 30, 40 pounds.
yeah.
You know, drinking like a cup of olive oil every day to try to put on like an insane amount of fat.
And they do. They go in there like pudgy and like, ready to lose weight and everything. Yeah, it's so interesting to see people's different strategies, and the people that you would not expect to make it far at all make it far, because there's just so many things that can happen. There's injuries that happen. There's just misuse of time, weather things go down. Like, shit, I put my shelter in the wrong place.
Or injuries. Like,
Yeah.
you're like, whoa, this guy's got it.
He's got it.
He's fucking got it. And then all of a sudden he like falls, and you're like, oh, it just like,
Yep, it's
it
over.
switches that fast.
Yeah.
I don't know. I found it very inspiring, because even when I eat food now, I'm like, I don't need that much. Like my portions, I feel like, are shrinking a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm like, what does the human body actually need?
Not nearly as much as we think.
And like not wanting to be of excess, and then also just, I don't know, just I think also feeling how blessed I am
Yeah.
to have shelter and not have to forage for food, and
Not have to think about cold and
cold
wind,
and wind and
leaks.
but a lot of people were saying it's like the happiest they've ever been. So I believe that too. I think there is something about, being that close to nature, being that close to food, to your survival, feeling that accomplished, that is like kind of and the peace of not
It's
being
a
on your
relief.
phone.
It's a
or
relief.
being,
Like what we started off talking about. Like it's too much. Taking in too much information about things that are like outside of your area that you could affect is not good for us. I don't think. I think it mentally drives us a little crazy and drives us and pulls us in every direction. All of a sudden you're out there and you're like, everything in my life is just immediate. It's all right here. I don't know what's going on with the rest of the contestants or in the rest of the world or with my family. I can't really be consumed by that. I have to focus on my survival, and I think it just puts people into a different state of mind where, I think you do have more access to happiness, but you have no one to share it with. So there's these people that kill it at this. They're so good at. They're like, I got my shelter built on the first day. It's insulated. I got a chimney in there. I built out a stove. I got plenty to eat. And then they're just sitting there like, I miss my family. And people would get homesick, and it would look like they had beaver fever.
yeah.
It's crazy
Yeah.
that you can mentally, like, it's almost like the people that stretched out their purpose. Like, I don't need to finish my shelter the first day. It's going to be a long process. I'm probably going to be out here for 70 plus days. Let me take my time to build this and to have a built-in purpose for every day, as opposed to the people that were like, got my shelter, got a bunch of animals, cool. And then you're just kind of sitting there alone without a lot of stuff to do. And then the mental beaver fever takes over, where you're like, I miss my fucking family.
Yeah.
What's my girlfriend doing?
You gotta worry about your
You
girlfriend
got it.
getting a little creepy.
I called it with some of these guys they showed, and I'm like, his girlfriend's too hot. He's not gonna be able to handle being out here. She's too cute. Like, he's gonna be thinking like, oh no, she has so many better options. What am I doing? And the time's gonna dilate and be torturous to this motherfucker just because he has a beautiful girlfriend.
What about her best friend Brad?
Yeah.
I think he's always had a thing for her. I think he's gonna make his move.
Yeah, totally.
No, people don't talk about that stuff, but
They
like,
don't. You could tell, but
but
we
we-
were adding our own commentary.
yeah, we had our own little
Yeah.
spice.
Yeah, Yeah, really fascinating show. Really, like, I'm glad it exists. I kind of feel bad for people that they'll go and do this and kill it at this, and just because they weren't the last person, they don't get money.
I don't
Like,
know. I hope they get some money.
yeah, but you know this business. If
Yeah,
they
it's
if
as little as
It's as
possible.
little as possible, and if they gave them anything, they would be patting themselves on the back about it. They'd be like, "Oh, second place got $100,000. Don't worry about them." They would be telling us that, but
Yeah,
I don't
no,
think they got
no, they don't.
anything.
No, I hope they just get like their time covered, like the whatever a SAG thing would be,
They ain't doing
like
that.
$500 a day or
Trust me.
something.
Trust me, they're not doing that. They're not. I know they're not.
How could they not though? They're working.
It's the same thing they did like with the people on the Real World, or those original reality shows. That was the precedent that was set a long time ago. Like, you're getting paid an exposure. Do whatever you want with this. It's probably worth a lot more than whatever we could give you, which could be true.
I think for some of them, for sure, because I'm like, there's some people that I'm like, I want to go to your wilderness camp.
Yeah, like, I'm in awe of you. I could learn a lot from you. I know things didn't go your way out there, but, like,
There was one woman that was very impressive, in particular. I
yeah,
found her very impressive. She lives the life.
yeah. Well, the two final people, um, really were going about this by not using a lot of their energy unnecessarily. And I thought they were goners because of that.
They had opposing attitudes. Like, there was a woman who attitude was like, I'm so grateful to be here. I'm so blessed. Like, I'm happy every day. And the other guy's attitude was like,
This sucks.
like, let's not give away who wins or whatever, but like, this sucks. And I know it's going to suck. And anything that doesn't suck, I'll be grateful for.
Mm.
But just like baseline, everything sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting how
Yeah.
successful he was given that attitude.
Yeah, like, I was like, I get it. I get that attitude. I don't know if I would be able to do it with that attitude. I think I would have to be more in the camp of like, I'm singing and dancing every day no matter what. I'm grateful to be alive. Like, there's a game, a helicopter could come and get me at any time. I'll get through it. It's going to be fine. Not the like, shit sucks. This is torture. And oh wow, I found a squirrel. I guess this isn't that bad. Yeah.
I think watching them like skin these animals, I'm like, I have no interest in doing this.
Yeah. You would if you were hungry.
Yeah, but I'm like, I don't want to be into that. I don't want to be that
No,
desperate for
no.
calories that I'm like, oh, I'm gonna eat a 500 calorie squirrel.
Mm.
It took that I had to go out and hunt and then watch its squirrel friends scream and cry.
Mm.
It'd be horrible.
Yeah, I think it's what it inspires me is like to do is to invite challenges into your world that'll help you grow. And I think
Yeah, I saw a quote recently about comfort. Like, I don't know. Growth doesn't happen in comfort, basically, is the essence of it. Like,
it's really good.
it's just not going to happen there.
Well, our new friend Mahavir Das, who will be appearing in our movie Wild Magic, he's an old friend of Ram Dass's. He's 87 years old, and he's helped countless people get their life on track and saved so many people's lives, especially a lot of addicts. And he says, and it's very simple, but and you can apply it in different ways. But he says that you should always be in school, and that you should always have a job, and that you should always be competing in a competitive sport.
That's what he was told, and so that's what he does.
That's what he was told when he was a young man, and he still does it.
Yeah.
And this guy has dozens of master's degrees and stuff like that. And when we were visiting him, he was learning how to play the banjo, and he does martial arts and this kind of stuff. So he's always, through his whole life, been in school, having had a job, and competing in a competitive sport.
It's very inspiring.
Yeah, I think that it's a very it's like kind of a masculine approach. Just coming down with some masculine energy. Yeah.
It is dominating.
And despite the way he comes off and how spiritual he is and how connected he is, he talks about being cutthroat in business. He said that's a whole different game, And he's gotten rich many times over in his life. He got so rich that at 60 years old, he said, this is impeding my spiritual growth. And he gave it all away. And then he got rich again,
Yeah.
like it's so inspiring. And It can be very simple. It can be very simple, but you got to have some kind of blueprint for how you want to go about life and achieve growth and be more present and get deeper with people, better your relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a very simple little trilogy of things that you could focus on. And in a way, we already have that, but I think we could be more intentional about it. But the idea that like he's like, oh, business is like a different realm and it has different rules and a lot of the stuff. I don't know if he would put it this way, but maybe like a lot of the stuff to the spiritual approach to life doesn't necessarily apply there, or if it does, you got to go a little harder.
Yeah, I don't know what he would say about that.
Well, I want to find out because
Yeah.
when we spoke to a mutual friend of ours, he was like, yeah, he's the reason have done so well in business. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's when we were watching the show about the Florida Gators, national championships and everything. I was like, that's how this could apply for us. We could take that spirit of like going balls to the wall, going hard, going like militaristic in your face. We could do that in business.
Well,
And
and
we have
I
been
think
in
it
that
helps
mindset
us
before.
when we do it with exercise. It helps us do it more so. And like we
Yeah.
came home and we were like militaristically, we came home to a pipe being burst where we had to replace all the ceiling tiles.
Yeah.
Like and at first it's like kind of a drag. You're like, oh, we just want to relax, but it was something nice about hitting the ground running with like a project right away that
Yeah.
required all our attention and focus that we just like kept it going. Like then I like was like, all right, I'm cleaning the whole space and organizing every freaking thing in this room.
Yeah.
And it's been really positive, I think. I don't necessarily like want, how we were like, life is too fun, we should have an early retirement. I'm like almost my like mindset on things is shifting
Yeah.
of like life is too fun, like how could I not be balls to the wall every day?
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I don't know.
but
And of still having fun and still making
yeah,
the rules to our own
when
life.
I talk about like, hey, let's be in a retirement state of mind, it's more like easy breezy. Well, let's take it easy.
Well, that's
You
what
know
I'm
I mean?
talking about.
Well, no, I'm just like more in our it's a hard thing to describe. But it's more like I don't think people catch that like, whew, wow, there's a chip off my shoulder. I don't have to, whatever until they retire. And I'm like,
You're like not trying to ramp up the responsibilities to make you not be able to be in the moment because you just want to like, it's not like you don't want to work hard.
no, I
It's-
do want to work hard.
But I think sometimes like when you're like, all right, you're making your own rules, you're your own boss every day. Like that's why we had to leave Maine. We're like, we got some stuff done up here, but it's too nice outside.
There's not enough grit.
It's not
There,
enough
there
grit.
wasn't just there's nothing for us to push off of. There wasn't enough contrast.
Yeah,
It
and then
was
you
too
get here,
comfortable.
then we get back here and it's like, all right.
Oh, we pull up, we drive 7 hours, and we're like, we don't even plan on being here long. We got to stay on the road and we got to keep doing stuff. But like, we're like, cool, we'll go back there, we'll drop our shit off, and like, we get back here and it's like a pipe burst and the ceilings got soaked and all your shit is soaked or covered in dust, and we just walk into complete chaos and just got to work on fixing everything up because like, who else is gonna
Wasn't
do
it
it?
so rewarding though and
Yeah.
satisfying? I know you were like
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of pissy about it at first, but I think ultimately like I like doing projects with you. That was so fun for me.
Yeah, that was
I know you did
awesome.
most of the work, but it was
Yeah.
still fun for
No,
me.
it's like when my parents go out of town and I'm like, cool, I'll take this opportunity to paint your house for a week or to replace the floors or to build a shed or whatever. Like I love that stuff.
Yeah.
I love all that stuff. But yeah, came in here, start replacing the ceiling, doing everything we got to do, and working hard. It was really hard, grueling work that I literally couldn't have done if we hadn't been doing Pilates for a week. I was like in angles and like holding things up and being crushed by things, and like it was just crazy. And yeah, we did that, and I felt very accomplished when I got everything like put back in its place and everything is nice. And then I woke up the next day with a rockin' migraine, like crazy. If anyone struggles with migraines, especially the ones that like come up like from the back of your neck on the left side and are like behind your eye and like above your ear, it's a specific kind. Please let me know what you do about it.
Your sister, I forgot to tell you this the other day, but she puts ice packs on her head. Maybe that could have helped you.
Yeah, maybe. It's just it. Like I thought I had nipped this in the bud by taking salt pills when we exercise. I'm like, wow, I'm not getting these headaches anymore. But what I think that they are is like the ultimate debilitating manifestation of my stress.
Yeah.
Like, and it's almost like it comes along in this perfect form where you can't do anything. It's not a physical injury, but it's just like I literally can't do anything. It debilitates me. I can't physically do anything, but I can't even think.
Yeah.
Which is it's just like literally my body like sending out a signal to shut it down for a minute. And it's usually a day. And I won't take that day otherwise. I will never take a day to be like, I'm not exercising. I can't do anything. I can't respond to anyone. I would never do that. I got too much fire. I'm trying to make shit happen. So the only time I take a break is when I get these migraines, and one just came along, and it felt inconvenient, but I basically spent yesterday miserable, like just dealing with a headache. And it's crazy. I woke up today feeling so good. So good.
Sometimes the contrast helps you feel good, you know.
That's another thing. Yeah. Like it's because right now I'm just filled with gratitude that I don't have a throbbing headache, and I'm close enough to having had it that I can remember what that was like, and like
It's so much easier to exercise when you've like gotten off of some sort of like you feel good again.
mm-hmm.
Or I remember when I'd visit my grandparents and like you're in an old folks community and they're like people are walking at like 1 mile per hour.
Yeah.
And you're like, you know what? I'm going to go run and use my body while I got it, you know?
Yeah.
This is so temporary
Mm-hmm.
and anything could happen.
Yeah.
Use it or lose it, or use it because you're going to lose it. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. And also like, I don't know, figure out how to listen to your body. Like if I had another way of knowing, like I was stressing myself to the level that I was going to have to be totally debilitated for a day, I maybe could have done something. I don't even know. I'm looking for advice, and because this is the type of thing, like if Advil took care of it, I wouldn't even be mentioning this. But Advil doesn't do anything. Caffeine doesn't do anything.
I think it's a portal. I think part of your path is like you have to go through these like physical portals. Like I've just known you long enough
Yeah.
to know it's like you getting your period. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
this is just kind of the part of the human experience. And I was saying that to you the other day. I'm like, because you were a little whiny for a second about and I'm like, this is life. Life is pipes bursting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not even worth complaining about because this is life. Like, you know what I mean? Life is the coming home and the pipes burst or whatever
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah. And I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
I
totally.
can wrap my head around it. I wasn't trying to make that anyone else's problem. It was more like, God, the last thing I want to be doing at 1 a.m. after driving all day is breathing clumps of dust. Well,
I think it was perfect for your OCD. Like you vacuum like
every day.
every day. I didn't even know there were people who vacuum every day.
I just there's certain things I got to do before I can do the things that help our livelihood. I have to do certain things to feel.
Last night I was reading on Reddit about women were talking about the mental load and how it gives them they like when they read about the mental load, it started to give them like sanity because they realized like I'm doing so much more work than my partner because I'm the one who like not only will take out the dishes, I'm the one if he's going to take out the dishes, I have to remind him to do the dishwasher. It's like the mental load is almost like the managing of the household tasks.
Yeah.
And just reading through it, I think there is like some more mental load that I take on, whether it's like remembering the doctor's appointments and stuff like that, but it's pretty minimal because you do the mental load of like figuring out what our life is.
There's a balance. I have the zoomed out perspective and you have the zoomed in. And like I couldn't do it without you. We couldn't even get to the zoomed out goals if it weren't for you.
But that said,
and we wouldn't have goals if we were just doing
No, I know. But that said, reading, what women or partners or a lot of women have to go through with partners is like I was like, oh my God, I don't think about a lot of things. I cook and you clean. It's like my grandparents had it, but it was the opposite. My grandma cleaned and my grandpa cooked. You know, but it feels so.
My parents were the opposite, but yeah.
Your dad cooked and your mom cleans.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it made me realize. I think I always realize, and I have been very grateful of how much you take on, and that you. But it's never like, I just hearing what some people were saying about like, look, if I, go to put something in the laundry, then I see that I have to do something else, and I'll do that. But if I tell my husband like, hey, can you put it in the dryer? He'll then leave the other sock that didn't make it in, and like, just not take on. Just be like, I will do household stuff and share the chores, but you have to tell me exactly what to do, otherwise I won't do it.
Yeah.
And that's just not our dynamic at all.
Thank God.
Thank God.
Yeah.
You need to give me a pep talk every once in a while that I need to like clean up my shit
Yeah.
or like organize, but other than that, I think we stay pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, we both give each other pep talks, and what they come down to is I'm like, you need more yang energy, and you're like, you need more yin energy. It's like really the crux of every argument
You
that
think
we
so?
have. I think so. Yeah, I'm like, where's your fucking fire? And you're like, I don't have any. And I'm like, well, here's some, because I got plenty, And you hit me with like, damn, where's your human being, emotional, like kind, forgiving, awesome, and I'm like, oh, and you douse me with that, and I remember, and like, because we both have it.
Yeah, totally.
But I think a lot of times, like, and I feel like if we could put that container around them, they'll be less personal and won't trigger defensiveness and longer arguments. Then it won't even become an argument. It's just like, hey, you got the yin right now. I'm gonna come with that little dot of yang, and I'm gonna just hit you with that right now, just so the balance can be restored and we can get some shit done.
I'm cool with that. I think another talking about Reddit, whatever.
I love Reddit
because it's so personal. You get to hear so many people's
It's
personal
awesome.
stories.
Yeah.
But someone was like, men, what's the unspoken secret to like a happy marriage? And the top comment was, this is the only one I remember, but it was like, it's not you versus your partner, it's you and your partner versus the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's also like a good thing for us to remember, because I think a lot of times we can get like a little personal of like, you're the problem. It's like, no, we're
dealing with a problem.
We have a problem, and we can be the solution together, no matter what has happened before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Believe that. Yeah. It's look, we're getting our shit together. This is like, I feel like we're just like in like kind of back to school mode.
I love back to school time.
I think I hate it, but I don't mind what we're doing right now.
I love getting organized.
Like, we basically just have to get rid of so much of our stuff.
Figure out how to make money.
We have to figure out how to make money, and we need more friends to help make our life more exciting.
Yeah.
So if you're a friend that, or not yet a friend that thinks they could make our life more exciting, shoot your shot. Now's the time. Shoot your shot. If you're a cinematographer who has some skills and wants to get out there, shoot your shot. Send us your reel. If you're a composer, send us your reel. Shoot your shot. Now's your shoot your shot time with Sean and Cass, because we're in back to school mode. And we need collaborators. We need friends. We need adventure partners. And not to say we don't have them already, but what's more exciting than meeting new people and forging new adventures and growing together? So it's shoot your shot time for us.
It's back to school.
Yeah, it's back to school. Yeah. But the summer ain't over. I'm gonna milk it for all it's worth.
Oh, trust
me.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me. I'm looking at the weather coming up. It's like about to be beautiful. We have a lot of shooting to do. We got a lot of running around to do. We got to raise money. And
we're about to be traveling the country, so
This literally, people should shoot their shot. Invite us somewhere. Tell us an interesting thing that's going on. Ask us on a date. Let's go. Let's do it. I'm fucking with you, Cass.
Ask Sean on a date.
No, I have plenty of
I'm
dates.
off the market.
Yeah. Are you?
I'm tired.
You're tired. You're tired of all this thruppling around.
Oh, no, I need to. That's what I needed before the last throuple. I was like, I just need more relationship with myself. I got to do my learning thing. I got shit to learn.
Yeah, I know.
And it doesn't have to always be relationship.
But it
please.
seems like there is probably something in our chart that makes that so, because I mean, you and I agree on that. But anytime we combine forces and agree, like, let's just focus on ourselves. Like, it's like the universe is like, here's more people. Here's like just more energies to deal with. Use them to grow. Use them to get inspired. Let them become the muse. And obviously, it doesn't always have to be like a sexual thing. It very rarely is. But it seems like when we try to deny that energy, it's something about the balance of our life. It just fucking shows up again. And it's cool. Whatever. I have no regrets about what we've done and who we've done it with.
No, we have great times.
The best.
Really fun times.
The best.
But I'm actually like, I think I had like a little bit of a wild streak in me. And I'm not saying I'm getting boring, but I'm just saying like where I'm getting my adrenaline is shifting.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see.
Yeah. Do you want to talk more about it on a very personal Patreon exclusive episode?
I don't know what I got, but I'll give it a
No,
shot.
I know. I'm trying to do a cliffhanger, for Christ's sake.
No,
Cass, just go along with it.
Yeah,
who cares? We're going to talk about whatever on there, but...
But you don't want to miss it.
Yeah, we're trying to coax some people over to our Patreon, patreon.com/churchofchill. It's $2, and you get access to all of our bonus podcasts.
We have a great podcast. I got a little too personal on an episode with Noah, so we
there's
Patreon.
there's a great episode with Noah Lampert of the Synchronicity World, who everyone that listens to us knows Noah. And we podcast with him frequently, but we did one that got a little too personal, and we just had to put it on Patreon.
I had to fucking bleep some shit. So.
Yes, yeah. But that's out there.
Yeah.
It's out there, and we'll probably...
Patreon exclusive.
That's a banger of a Patreon exclusive. We also have my Church of Chill episodes on there, which is our music show. And
a lot of good ones. The recent ones have been fire, and I really want you to do a vinyl one, so I keep calling that in.
Yeah. I could start looking through our records today and pick out a good vinyl episode.
Okay, cool.
And then, of course, the Discord community, which is popping off more than ever. I think...
lots of very chill, talented
just there's so many talented people that I'm like, I can't believe have something to do with bringing them together. It's really hard to believe.
Yeah, very special.
But it's very cheap. It's $2, or you could give us more. We'd really appreciate that. Patreon.com/churchofchill. We're gonna do a part 2 of this. Hopefully you'll join us. And we'll see you on the other side, y'all. Peace, love, and magic. Remember.
Like and subscribe.